Need for Speed 2015 was a major benchmark in the Need for Speed series. It rang in a new era for Need for Speed, in more ways than one. Today it lives on as somewhat of a divisive game. A lot of people love the game for what it is, a lot of people really don't like the game for what it is, and a lot of people wish the game was just more. As divisive as this game was, I felt it was appropriate to take a trip back down memory lane back to 2015 and just kind of do a little retrospective on Need for Speed 2015, what it brought to the Need for Speed community, and what has happened to the Need for Speed community since, and just how much this game affects games of today. If you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this. Let's take a little field trip back to the year 2015.
What's that? Yo, cops!
I'm sure many of you remember where you were when the Need for Speed 2015 teaser trailer dropped. I was in high school, as a freshman in high school, and I was sitting alone in the cafeteria. I was a little bit of a loner back then. I was sitting alone at the cafeteria table when the Need for Speed 2015 teaser dropped. And a couple days before that, they actually dropped a random picture onto Twitter. And when people put that image into Photoshop and up the contrast, you could see a car. So that was like our first official teaser of the game, but this was the first like actual announcement of Need for Speed 2015. And at the time it felt like a little bit of a fever dream. I probably watched it maybe like hundreds of times before the actual reveal trailer at E3 came out. It just felt super weird seeing an underground focused Need for Speed game back after all this time. So it was really cool seeing a return to an older era of Need for Speed. And with the title Need for Speed, it seemed like they wanted to reboot the series in this direction just as a whole, and that was Ghost Games' intention. You gotta understand, back in the early 2010s, the Need for Speed community under every comment section was always asking for 3 games. A new Hot Pursuit, a new Most Wanted, and a new Underground. And we got a new Hot Pursuit, we got a new Most Wanted, but we didn't get a new Underground. Need for Speed 2015 was basically the next best thing. E3, rest in peace, E3. And Gamescom dropped trailers, and again, it felt like we were in a fever dream. And I gotta say, even to this day, and this isn't just nostalgia, I'm talking actual like production wise, these trailers are still a lot better than a lot of the trailers that we get for Need for Speed nowadays. Hell, Need for Speed games nowadays don't even have that much marketing. We got 2 trailers for Unbound, we also got like maybe 3 trailers for Heat, and they pale in comparison to the trailers we got for Need for Speed 2015. The trailers passed the vibe check. That's basically what I gotta say. Now let's skip ahead to November 2015. November 2015 is when the game dropped. And to say the game is a little divisive is a little bit of an understatement. The atmosphere, the vibe, the map, muy perfecto. The physics, on the other hand,
I did not hit you, I swear to-
Speedy gets up. Whoa, what the? We're not that good. They were not that good. The AI as well, like the actual like racer AI, was also really, really dumb. It was very easy to beat the AI in game, and the cops, let's just say the cops were limited to 25 miles an hour. Ventura Bay must have a really, really, really restrictive pursuit policy, because those guys, I swear I never saw the cops in 2015 go over 50 miles an hour. The game had a lot of pitfalls, especially when it came to the physics and the AI mainly, but at the same time, the vibe was fantastic. The atmosphere, absolutely fantastic. The immersion and the map were also really good. And the game also brought back customization into Need for Speed after very long. And customization itself was also very divisive. A lot of people wish there was more customization. For a game that really hyped up customization, a lot of cars only had 1 or 2 body kits or like bumpers for each car. There really wasn't a whole lot to select from, but I understand Ghost's mantra and what they wanted to do with Need for Speed 2015. They wanted to make the customization authentic. They wanted real world parts. They didn't really want to create a lot of fake parts. Games past Need for Speed Underground, Underground 2 Most Wanted, most if not all of the parts on these cars were fictional, fake, made up by EA. In Carbon, you could basically make your own. And with Need for Speed 2015, their vision was to make it authentic. Another divisive issue with Need for Speed 2015 was the garage size. At launch, you were limited to just 5 cars in your garage. Now, 15-year-old me was not a big fan of this, but 23-year-old me appreciates this idea more. Games nowadays like Forza, The Crew, and even Need for Speed, you have unlimited garage space. You can build up a big-ass collection as quickly as you can. Need for Speed 2015 wanted to keep it realistic, and I appreciate that. Even though it really didn't work out, I still appreciate that they tried this. Instead of having a huge collection of cars, you kept it to 5 cars, and they later upgraded it to 10, which I think is perfect. Keeping 5 to 10 of your favorite rides that you continuously work on and you continuously perfect, I think is great. Hell, Need for Speed Unbound, that's about what I keep my garage to in the multiplayer itself. I basically sell off cars that I'm not currently working on or I don't have race tuned, basically. And I also gotta talk about the story. A lot of people weren't a big fan of the story or the characters, and trust me, games a lot later got a lot worse. Need for Speed 2015 is almost a perfect representation of just real life car culture. It's literally just a group of friends hanging out, street racing, and getting food afterwards. That's basically all it needed to be, and I think the story works really well. And I appreciate it more and more, I guess, the older I get and the more I experience real life car culture. But when the game first dropped, I didn't have an Xbox One or a PS4 at the time. I literally had to buy it on Xbox One, install it on my brother's Xbox in the other room, and then link the game to Windows 10 with the Xbox live streaming thing. And it surprisingly worked. I looked at some of the gameplay that I uploaded to the channel back when 2015 first dropped, and it looks pretty decent for literally recording it with Shadow Play and streaming it through Xbox over Wi-Fi. I thought that was just really funny to mention, by the way. Ghost eventually started dropping several content updates for Need for Speed, adding in a competitive mode, quasi-competitive playlist mode, and eventually adding proper PvP playlists later down the line. Now, this game basically just screamed fan service in the sense that they added in music from previous Need for Speed games, they added boss cars from previous Need for Speed games, and they added a prestige mode, basically adding more gameplay and more stuff to do once you finish the actual campaign. And the prestige mode is actually really fucking hard, let me tell you. And I just kind of want to wrap this up talking about Need for Speed 2015, going past 2015 into 2016 into the years past, especially when Need for Speed Payback and Heat have come out, and how I still go back to Need for Speed 2015 despite better games coming out later down the line. Payback, dog shit. Once I played through Payback, I more often than not went to 2015 for my racing fix. Heat's a great game. I really enjoy Need for Speed Heat for what it is, and I really appreciate how they went back to the illegal underground street racing vibe that was lacking from Need for Speed Payback. But 2015 just does the entire atmosphere so much better. I think the map overall is just better in 2015. I like how it's closed off as opposed to just wide open. You can basically drive anywhere. I really think the maps overall have degraded since 2015. Not saying that they're completely terrible. I really enjoy Need for Speed Unbound and Heat's map. It's just that 2015 has the better map. 2015 just as a whole, I think, has the better city, it has the better roads, it has the better canyons. Every single mountain road since Heat has kind of felt a little shoehorned in. The entire map in 2015 felt supernatural. You had the you had 2 distinct looking canyons. You had with super tight roads and just awesome drift roads. You had the suburbs. You had the kind of, I guess you could say, the little not so nice part of town. The only thing it was really missing was a downtown. Overall, I just think it's the best map out of all the other games. I think just overall they nailed it with 2015. And it's the reason why I still visit this game to this day. In fact, last year, with the help of the Unite mod, the Project Unite mod brings 2015 to a brand new level. It's like I'm playing a brand new game. The AI is fixed for the most part. There's more customization. The physics are well improved to the point where I literally replayed through 2015 again, but with an added challenge. So I called this the Need for Speed 2015 PERMADEATH playthrough. So basically how it worked was, if I crashed my car, if I got a crash cam in one of my cars, or I got busted, I basically lost the car.
Sorry. Oh.
And if I run out of money and I can't buy a brand new car, the game is over. And this was actually really fun. It really added a whole new level of immersion to Need for Speed 2015. On top of just all the immersion that you get just from playing the game, I definitely felt like I was much more invested in the actual racing scene of Ventura Bay, and that my actions basically had consequences. There were points where I had a very slow car and I had cops coming after me, and typically in Need for Speed 2015 I would just take off because, you know, I get busted, it's like a $2,000 fine. But in this version, if I got caught, game over. It could basically be game over. Hopefully I can make up some time here. I have no more money. Will Jack lose the Dodge and go back to the trash car? Okay, he did. Motherfucker. I have literally no money. So we're back to fucking square one. $836 in a Volvo. It added a whole new level of realism that I just enjoyed a lot. And there were points in the playthrough where one crash, I was literally on the verge of losing everything. That was just such a fun time. If you want to see the VODs, I'll have the VODs to that stream playthrough linked down below in the description. It was just so much fun. That's basically going to wrap up this retrospective of Need for Speed 2015. I absolutely love Need for Speed 2015, and I honestly got a couple more 100 hours in it 7-8 years later. If you really enjoy Need for Speed 2015, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I cover a lot of Need for Speed topics. We're kind of going back and covering some older games now, but still, if you like this type of content, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But that's it for me tonight. Thank you all for hanging out with me, and I will catch you all later. Have a good night, everyone.